let's bring James Ham. He's on our version of national TV. James, do you know who the Indiana Pacers have signed in this free agent period? The stars, the juggernauts that have wanted to go to Indiana.
Um, no,
Okay.
that list doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. Don't tell anyone that though. Don't tell anybody.
But
Really
free
well.
agents want to come play in Indiana.
Actually, I saw something that said that if they signed DeAndre Ayton, he would be the biggest free agent signing in their history.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a. I'm not going to turn my nose up at that either because I like DeAndre Ayton, so I'll keep the same energy. That'd be a big if that works out for them. I think that's a good signing for them.
It
And
is.
obviously, DeAndre only wants to go there to play with Tyrese Halliburton.
Facts.
Clearly, yeah,
Even
it's
James is
crazy.
perturbed with
He
this
he could have he
nonsense.
could have just been drafted by the Phoenix Suns, Halliburton that is, and just played there. You know,
How come there is not more criticism for teams that passed on Tyrese Halliburton in the draft, given he seems to be the point guard of the new generation? I'm not
yeah.
sure.
There's not enough backlash there.
James is like, how the hell are we talking about Tyrese? Let's move on. Let's not talk
Well,
about.
but we will explain. And I want to hear what James has to say. We came with that because we were trying to figure out how many national TV games the Kings might get this year. Obviously, smart money's probably on zero. I got ambitious. I said three.
Which is
What do you think?
insane. And I said one, and it's a game that Mark Jones would call for ESPN against maybe the Warriors or something.
Okay, so I don't consider ESPN games national televised games, and
What?
neither does the
Wait,
league.
what? Really?
I don't think NBA TV and ESPN games can be televised by the local broadcast team as well. The only ones that can't are TNT.
Well, I mean, you're right about that.
That's so I don't
That's
really
deep.
consider them.
That
Um,
ESPN still national TV though.
I guess, yeah. I mean, so you could say NBA TV is still national TV too,
I
but
ain't saying that. That's silly. That's silly.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I would consider ESPN still a nationally televised. I mean, just like league wide, I don't think they consider that a full fledged national television game.
I'm going with three though. I say they get one of the Kings Warriors ones that a game like that where Mark Jones has to call it on ESPN. I think because of everything that's gone on in these summer leagues, I think they get a rookie type showdown with Keegan Murray versus somebody. I think that happens.
That's possible. We could also see like a Kings Memphis Grizzlies game where they do Jaw versus De'Aaron Fox.
Hmm. I love that too. I love that.
I don't hate that. I'm just blown away by this whole what is a national TV game and what isn't. NBA TV, I completely understand though. That's not national TV. That's damn near league pass at this point. Let's
Yeah,
bring you in to another question we were talking about earlier. And this goes, you reported over the weekend, diving into some of the photos that were posted, Matthew Dellavedova working out for the Sacramento Kings. You mentioned Quinn Cook. I always forget the third person, Kenny.
Oh, Shabazz Muhammad.
Sabaj Muhammad, thank you.
yeah.
What is what is the reason it can't be Isaiah Thomas?
Huh, that's a good question. I don't think there is a reason. You know, if you need a third point guard, I think the problem that you would have with Isaiah is he's going to want a bigger role. He's used to a bigger role when he has been given opportunities. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'd also say the current guys, they're like two front offices removed from Isaiah Thomas. So maybe they don't even really know how much he was thought of and well liked and all that stuff here in Sacramento. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like him a lot as a player that could help out this team. But at the same time, if he's not willing to take on, sitting 30 games out of 82, maybe more,
Mm-hmm.
and just playing, when you need someone to fill in or you need a boost because you're getting thumped, that kind of deal, I could see it being an issue.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think that has a lot to do with whoever would accept that role, understanding and being realistic with what that role entails. Do you agree with myself and Damien that Isaiah Thomas is better than any of those three guys?
Well,
Like,
we always,
say he accepts like the role of what it is. I
yeah, I
feel like he's a
think,
better option than all three of those guys.
I think we get to a point when it comes to these things where we say, hey, you know, we talked about this, a couple of times. Is he better or is he a better fit? And I'm not sure that I think the fit would be strange. I think that would be the biggest issue. I don't think whether or not he's sort of like, can he play still? Yeah, I think he can still play. But whether he still fits with what's happening here in Sacramento, I think would be a bigger issue. And would he be willing to take on the role? And maybe he is now. Maybe he is willing to do
And
that.
that's the thing. I feel like he would.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it, like because what else are you going to do? I mean, he's 33 years old. At some point, he's not going to. I mean, at this point, he doesn't even have a role in the league, and I can't figure out why he can't stick with the team. But if the situation is you have this opportunity here in Sacramento, or you just don't have an opportunity at all, it feels like I wonder if it's more on the Kings than it is on Isaiah. But again, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, look, Isaiah was so incredible during relocation. I mean, he showed up at city council meetings. He's a fan favorite. He's a good dude. I know there's reputation things around the league which I've never gotten with him. Like I spent plenty of time with him in his first 2 years in the league, and I thought he was absolutely spectacular to work with the media. He didn't take he didn't take crap from anybody, if that makes sense. Like within that locker room, he held his own, and he was a big voice in that locker room. And when he did speak, he spoke the truth and was straightforward. I always liked him, having him around, and I think he actually, if he was willing to take on really like a mentorship role and stuff like that. The problem that you have is that he has had a series of injuries. He's had hip issues, he's had hip surgeries, and he's a guy that like his margin for error was so slim. He's a not only is he not very big, but he wasn't the quickest, he wasn't the fastest. His arms, like his height, the wingspan isn't good. So whatever he did on the court, it was because he had just this little margin of error and he took advantage of it. He sat there on the edge at all times, and I think there is a possibility that that edge is kind of gone, and then it becomes very very difficult to sort of keep up and to score and to be the player he was before.
The other thing about this is kind of like when we brought this up earlier, they're like, why wouldn't they sign Isaiah Thomas? His defense, and he's too small. He doesn't play defense, all this other stuff. How big of a issue is that for your third point guard? Like you said, this is a guy that ideally he might not play for 10, 11 games. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand how, if he's better than those guys offensively, that the fact that he's not as good defensively would deter, and like you mentioned before, all things considered, everybody's accepting of the role and everything like that. Why the fact that he's not shut down defensively would keep you from signing him as your third guard?
Yeah, I mean, if he's supposed to come in and just be a spark plug and just fire away, that's one thing.
Mhm.
But again, that's a role that has to be carved out. I always thought that the issue wasn't so much Isaiah as it was teams around the league. There's very few teams that had sort of the runway to just hand their team over to a guy, because that's the type of player he is. Like if you're going to have him on your roster, you kind of have to say, like if you're starting, then it's Isaiah's team. This is,
Mhm.
it's kind of like Iverson. It's kind of like Kyrie, it's kind of like Chris Paul. When you hand it over to them, it's like, okay, you're going to run the show. Well, when he became available and he was coming off of injuries, there just wasn't really a team that that could still take on a player that was like that, a high volume, sort of low efficiency, although he has been pretty efficient throughout his career. But that style of player, and to be honest, it's really like if Jimmer could have walked into the league and tried to be like Isaiah and just like stepped in and said, "Look, this is my show. I'm taking it." Then Jimmer could have had the same opportunity that Isaiah did, but Jimmer tried to fit in too much,
Mhm.
and so he never worked out at all. But it was because he didn't have that same personality when he got to the NBA. At the college level, he did, but at the pro level, it was like, okay, let me try to fit in. And Isaiah figured out very quickly, while you're trying to fit in, I'm just going to steal your job and score 20 points a game. And so like you have to have a team that's you're okay just handing it over to him. And at this point, again, it's too late now for that. But 5 years ago, it doesn't seem like it was too late, and there just wasn't a team that had that opportunity.
Let's we can get away from Isaiah. It was just something we were discussing.
Yeah, it's interesting
I
discussion.
think, yeah, we all like Isaiah Thomas, and I can't figure out why my man isn't in the league, even in a reduced role. And if that's what the Kings are looking for, I'd rather have someone like Isaiah Thomas than Matthew Dellavedova. No knock on Matthew Dellavedova at all. But of the 3 roster spots that are available, do you think any of them will go to a player that we are watching here in Summer League?
I don't think so. If it does, it would be Neemias.
Mhm.
It would be Keita. That would be the only way that I could see it. And even still, that's got to make sense. Like I know that there are a lot of people out there. I just wrote about Neemias Keita today. I know there are a lot of people just so excited about what they're seeing, and you should be excited. He's growing. He's totally changed his body. Give him another year. Give him another year of learning and training with a professional staff and tightening up his core, and you're gonna see this kid just keep getting better and better. At least
You
that's what
just
it looks like to
described
me.
me and Kenny. Me as the person who's really excited about what he's seeing, and then you being this along the same line of Kenny and give him one more year. You literally
Well,
described both of us to a T.
even if it's half a year, I think that would be fine too. But the problem is that you still have Rashawn Holmes on the roster. You still have Alex Len on the roster. And while you don't have to love Alex Len, you still should respect what Alex Len brings to the court. He is tough. He is a rim protector. He is a veteran that knows how to play the game. And while I think there are a lot of things that Neemias does a lot better than Alex Len, there's still something to being a veteran and still having a guy on a contract and all that stuff. As far as like the rest of the guys, I don't think there's anyone that's just stood out. Again, like I've had moments with Matt Coleman where I thought, okay, maybe they should extend something here to Matt Coleman, but then he steps out of bounds twice in a row in the middle of an opponent's run, just inexplicably making mistakes, and he's forced a bunch of balls, and sometimes he dances around and does some things that I don't think that make a lot of sense. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that there are some players here. I like Sean McDermott. I like what is it O'Connell has done. Like these guys. I don't know if you want to bring him. You probably have to bring McDermott to training camp, but I'm not sure that one of these guys just stands out that you've got to have and that will be a difference maker. But they'd be nice to have in your organization and working them through the G League and having them as backups in case you need it.
I like McDermott. I'd love to see him get an opportunity in training camp, like you talked about. And then like also you talked about Alex Len, and I just feel like we need to say this because me and Damien, we agree with this. Alex Len, when he did play last year, it wasn't bad. Like he didn't play bad. I didn't think it was like, oh, you got to get him off the court. He's fine. It's just more so about some of the things we see from Keita and what Keita can bring to you moving forward. Like we see what Alex Len is. We wonder if Keita is that and could possibly be more than seeing him out there on the court. And that's why that always comes up. But Alex Len is, I think I can speak for Damien. I don't really have a problem with anything we saw from Alex Len when he was on the floor.
Yeah, he had moments where he was okay, and then other moments where it's like, oh boy, what's happening here? He has a tendency to get rusty really quick. That's something, We saw 2 years ago that it took him forever to recover from COVID. I think it took him a while to recover from COVID again this year. He just, he's so big, and when he gets out of shape a little bit, it really does take him a lot to get back to the baseline. I like what Keita brings to the game a lot more than I like what Alex Len does at this point. And the problem that you have is that you owe Alex Len $4 million and he's still on the roster. Where Keita is a two-way player, he's going to make $502,000. He's available for 50 games. He can't play in the playoffs unless you clear a roster spot. I still think there's a lot they can do with Keita in the future. And the things that I like about Keita, he knows how to, run the pick and roll. He's absolutely tremendous as a screen setter. He's a good rebounder. He needs to be better. He's a very good shot blocker. He still needs to get better. And the way he gets better is by getting himself in better shape. So I think we're seeing the beginning of Keita, where we're seeing the end of some of these other players. But the biggest issue that you're still going to have is whether it's Keita or it's Len, how are you going to get either one of those guys any minutes barring injury? Right. Because you've already got, 34 to 36 minutes a night tied up in Domantas Sabonis, and then you have Richaun Holmes on the roster as well. If Richaun Holmes is no longer on this roster, Keita's opportunity changes super quick. He becomes part of the rotation, and if not, it's him and Len, and you're going to play who makes more sense on each given night. So I definitely think there is room for Keita to actually get an opportunity here. Mm-hmm. It has to happen with Richaun Holmes, who's under contract for 3 more years. That's a problem.
Let me ask you this real quick, Damian, James. Do you think there's a possibility, because you said, and I tend to agree with you, I don't think anybody that we've seen in Summer League outside of Keita is going to get one of those 3 roster spots. Do you think there's a possibility that they're saving those spots for deals that could be coming forward and having to take back players or contracts or something like that?
Yeah, okay, so the way the NBA works is during the offseason, you can have up to 20 guys on your roster. Mm-hmm. And I believe that 2 of those are your two-way players. So you can go up to 18 players, and then you cut back to 15 for the start of the regular season. Now, you don't have to walk into the season with 15. Having an open roster spot is one of the most valuable things you can possibly have in the NBA. Mm-hmm. The Kings have things like a $4 million trade exception for the Tyrese Halliburton trade, right? Mm-hmm. They can actually pull in a $2.5 million player and a second-round pick or 2 second-round picks from a team, and then just cut the player and keep a roster spot open. There are ways that they can help themselves by having one open roster spot. Having 2 open roster spots, that's not typical. It's, you usually have teams with 14, either 14 or 15 men on the roster. The minimum is 13. You have to have 13 guys on the roster. So the Kings have to at least sign 1 more player. And again, they already have Keita locked up. So they could convert Keita to a regular roster spot, open up a 2-way spot, and then bring in a guy like McDermott on the 2-way. Something like that might be something that makes sense. But, they do have some ways that they can actually collect more assets. And that's kind of what you're looking for with your roster spots at this point. Unless there is some monumental trade that comes along and you need to do a 3 for 1 or a 4 for 2 type deal, which could always pop up and happen. But I'm not going to, these guys, they're working hard and they're trying to reinvent the roster continuously. I'm just not sure that there's going to be anything that breaks until we start seeing, the Donovan Mitchells, the Kevin Durant's, Kyrie Irving's traded. And then once that happens, whether the Kings can be part of those deals, that could actually play out and they could use some of those roster spots as well.
Keita on the main roster only makes sense to me if Alex Len is gone. Or Richaun. One of them has to be gone. It doesn't make sense to move to me as Keita's up unless Summer League concludes and you don't want to lose one of these players on this squad, Matt Coleman or Alex O'Connor, whoever, and you want to sign them to a 2-way contract. But you still have things to figure out. Moving to me as Keita up to the main roster just to save a 2-way spot. That to me, it doesn't make sense. And I really like Keita, but I only like Keita if Alex Len isn't here or if Richaun Holmes isn't here and he's clearly in that 3rd guard spot. Other than that, I'll ride with you two and just let him continue to cook in Stockton and be ready. Like, I mean, at worst, Alex Lynn's contract expires next year, and you have a player who could step into that role regardless of what happens with Rashawn.
Well, that and I mean, we could get to the deadline and Alex Lynn could be out of the rotation and could say, "Hey, do you guys mind waiving me at the deadline?" And the Kings
Yeah.
could waive him and take a buyout, a little bit less money, let him go play somewhere else, and then move Kata up at that point, or just give Kata a bunch of run because you got up to 50 games you can play him in. Yeah, so there are a lot of things you can do. The two way, when they bump the two way up to it's basically half of a rookie scale contract, and the rookie scale is at like 101 something, 100. Well, I mean, $1,000,000.005 or something. So that's why we're getting this figure that he's going to make $502,000. That's pretty good money. I mean, we're talking about a college kid who was a second round pick, and not everybody gets that kind of money. I think the Kings also. I'll just point out that I think even what we saw with Hardy when they traded the 37th pick in this year's draft, they really kind of burned themselves the first year, the first draft that they had when they drafted Halliburton, but they also drafted Jemias and Robert Woodard. And then for some reason, they gave both of those guys 2-year deals. And Woodard's contract even had some guaranteed money in year 3. And for second round picks, they both got really, really good contracts. I'm not even sure what was happening there. Like, I think Woodard got like a 3-year, $4.5 million. He started at 1.5. Yeah, so and then what happened at the trade deadline last year, they couldn't include those two in a trade, so they waived both of them. They bit the bullet and just lost some money, even on Woodard's guaranteed money for next year, for this coming season, which was minimal, but still, like the way that they handled that is they wasted 2 roster spots. And so I kind of feel like at this point, they're a little gun shy to do the same thing again, to bump Kata up when they don't have to go sign a guy like Hardy when they don't have to. They like the flexibility and the ability to bring in a couple of veterans and say, hey, let's see what this guy's got. Emmanuel Mudiay last year. Let's see what he's got for 5 games. And if he's not good enough, we can just waive him and move on to the next guy. So I think there is a little bit of that going on here. But also they are waiting for the big move, something miraculous to happen that will change the franchise. And that's a good way. Hiding Neemias Queta, even if it's for the summer on a 2-way contract, they can bump that up at any point. They can go to him and say, hey, let's lock you in on a 3-year, $4.5 million or whatever the deal is. Like, they could easily lock him up under contract at some point during the season.
Yeah, that's absolutely the move to make, to not rush to do something with Kata. They were dead wrong for not keeping Jalen Hardy though. Dead wrong. I don't know what. No, I wish I would have been in the war room. I would have been like, Monty, listen to me on this one. Just hold on to that. Do whatever the case may be. But they bounced back very fine. Getting my man Malik Monk, getting Herter, and salvaging this offseason because I was ready to give him that Redfin passcode after draft night. But I agree with you, James, with keeping the roster spots open. To me, it's clearly to prepare for a bigger move and to take on, I don't know if salary would, they obviously have to take on the salary, but it's more so the roster spots to fill that up with at least 2 of those 3 spots coming from who they'd be getting back in some potential deal. That's my guess.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense to keep your roster flexibility right now. Again, you can go up to 20. So they not only can they bring in 3 more players, but at this point I think they can bring in 6. So, I mean, they can really crank it up. They can also, like, via trade, you can take in players. There's a lot of ways that you can take in players right now. But once you get closer to the start of the season, you have a better idea what's happening. You get to the trade deadline, you have a better idea what's happening. That's when you can start converting guys and start doing stuff. And I'll also point out, like we harp on him for the Hardy situation, but Hardy could be very similar to a Jemias situation where you're waiting for something to happen that doesn't seem to happen, and you just don't know. Where Keon Ellis, they went out and got, and he was undrafted, and they kind of filled that spot using Keon Ellis as a 2-way where you knew if you drafted Hardy at 37, you're probably going to have to give him a regular season roster. When you pick up Keon Ellis as a two-way player, that's totally different. And you can waive two-way players at any time and go pick up a different two-way player. And so the two-way is very intriguing. But, like, again, they found a young piece in Keon Ellis, they thought, after the draft. And to be honest with you, at this point, I think it's proven out. Keon Ellis is
really
a ball
like
player.
I like Keon. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a ball player. So, yeah, I like him as well.
He's one of the bright spots for sure in the summer league. While of course all attention has been on Keegan Murray. James, how many people did you talk to in the draft process that said, James, it's Keegan Murray, kid, I've got him slotted here at number 2. He is the second best player that I think is coming out of this draft.
None. Not at all.
See James like feverishly shaking his head, like ridiculousness.
Yeah. I mean, like I had heard that there like rumors that Shaden Sharp could be a guy that could go all the way up into the top 2. That Jaden Ivey could go all the way up in the top 2. We never heard Keegan's name, and like again, people are very hyped, and they should be hyped. He's playing really, really well, and I'll keep pointing to the things that I like that he's doing, and that is he's fearless. He's shooting shots that this team begged Harrison Barnes to take the last 2 years, and just he wouldn't do it. So he's taking all those shots. He's calling for the ball. He hit the big shot, but more than the big shot, it's how many plays has he like slid down like to the right corner and sat there and called for the ball. As soon as the ball hits his hands, it's in the air and in the bottom of the net. Like those are the things that are really, really interesting. And I talked about it beforehand, that his block shots, they're not really transferable. He's going to block shots, but it's not going to be the 1.9 per game. He's got 2 blocks so far in Summer League total between California Classic and Las Vegas. Like those things aren't super transferable. We've seen him score in the post a couple of times, but he's not going to get those opportunities like he did in college. We're seeing his usage drop right down to where it should be, probably 22 to 24%. That's where he should be. At the college level, he was at 30%. Saying all of that, he's shown leadership. He's rebounded really well. He's shown a higher level of passing skills than I thought. The biggest thing I think is he's made adjustments on the fly. Like people can argue with me all they want, but in the first quarter against Paolo Banchero, he looked completely overmatched. He looked shaky at times. And then he adjusted, and he was ready to roll, and he was really good. And I thought by the end of that game, he was the best player on the floor. These are things that are transferable, where a player is showing you that he can grow inside of a game, where a player is showing you the skill set that he has that is completely, like, you can see him standing in a corner and De'Aaron Fox firing it to him and him hitting a wide open shot. You can see him playing off of Sabonis. These are things that I think people should get excited about. Now, am I changing what I think he can be as a player? Maybe a little bit. I thought, he might cap out around 18 points a game at, the height of his career. Maybe I see like 21, 22 points per game, in 1 or 2 seasons or 3 or 4 seasons, if he really like hits it. But he's a guy who takes advantage of the opportunity. And I think that's such a rare thing that you see. And, we're watching Cam Thomas run out there, and I love Cam Thomas, but he's just a mad chucker. Well, that's not what Keegan Murray is. Everything he's done is within the flow. That's what you should be excited about.
We'll come back. We'll talk more about Keegan Murray. We'll talk more about his transferable skill set. And we'll talk more with James Ham when we return here on D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320. Clear.
When Camilo Duvall cut his hair?
I don't know, but James Mike sounds fine.
Yeah, I don't hear no difference.
I don't know what. Like I checked YouTube, like all of the level. Like James sounds absolutely fine.
Yeah, was that early? I don't know. I had somebody complaining on the pod that I breathe into the mic too much, so I put a filter on just to make sure that. And a lot of it is because I'm still struggling with like swallowing and things like that from the COVID. Yeah. Anyway,
I can see all of the James levels here. They're fine. Jesse says it's fine on the radio. It's fine on YouTube.
cool.
You guys need to upgrade your iPads on Amazon Prime Amazon Prime Day before it runs out. Go get you a new iPad. Did you guys buy anything on Amazon Prime? James, you buy any tools?
I haven't yet.
Prime Day. I keep looking. You really, really want to buy something. There's absolutely nothing I need to buy. Nothing at all.
I'm spending entirely too much money on July. Too much money in July to be looking at anything.
And my concern is I'm spending way too much money in August. I don't want to buy anything in July.
You know what I really want to buy is the standalone ice maker. So,
yeah.
Yeah, my bar, I don't have. I mean, I've got a refrigerator with a little freezer in it where I keep like my big giant ice cubes. But it would be nice to have like continuous ice here because I have to carry ice down when I mix drinks. And then when we do go out on the boat, it's nice to have a secondary machine that can make ice. And
I'm looking at one right now. $4.29 makes 3 pounds of ice.
But there's smaller ones that are only $100 or $90 on sale, or 170 that makes like 45 pounds of ice in a day. Yeah, that's nice.
Goodness gracious!
Saves you money quick, man. Instead of going and getting ice at the grocery store all the time.
I almost
$3.
No, ice is now like $6, and instead of 20-pound bags, now they're 16-pound bags.
Are smaller. Yeah, I will say
yeah,
that.
they're just messing with us. Instead of a 7-pound bag, they're 5-pound bags, and they're $3.50. Yeah.
I almost paid an extra $800 for the refrigerator that makes craft ice.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do it because it was like, what am I doing? This is $800 more for craft ice. Then it was like 800. Then it was like an extra 1,000 if I wanted the one that had the little clear window and you could turn the light on. I think don't you have one of those?
No, I don't. But that's exactly what I wanted. It was another $800. Not for the clear window, but for the camera in the refrigerator, so I can click on the screen and it'll bring up the picture.
You just open the refrigerator door.
I know.
We have the refrigerator
settled
thing.
on.
You can open the outside door and leave the refrigerator closed.
Yeah.
And get to stuff through the back door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one right there. We got that. But man, I really wanted the screen. It's like,
I didn't do it.
No touch screen. Let me
like, what am I doing?
Let me write my grocery notes on here.
Yeah. I can watch TV here on my refrigerator. It has a Hulu thing. Like, what am I going to do with this? Silliness.
Mine definitely has internet, but it does not have a TV. People are always like, why is your refrigerator have internet? And I'm like, no, you can adjust it via the internet. So, yeah.
Oh,
and,
man.
mine broke and was broke for 2 months. I did finally get it fixed.
That's tough.
That's tough. Yeah, that's brutal. That is brutal.
Come on, man.
Ramsey's a wild dude, man.
That's funny.
We're coming back. Live on the Odyssey app, live on Twitch, YouTube, live on Twitter as well. Wherever you are, we appreciate you so much for being with us. 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham, here with us as the Sacramento Kings will play their likely second to last Summer League game tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. How many more times do you think we see Keegan Murray play?
I think it depends. If they win tonight, okay, so the way that this tournament works is the top 2 teams record-wise, and then there's some random tiebreakers. The top 2 teams play for the championship. There's a 4th game, which the Kings are scheduled to play, I think, against Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a 5th game that will basically just be like a reshuffle, and a random thing. So they will get a 5th game whether they're in the championship or not. So there will be another one this weekend, I believe. And they're not eliminated. There's only one team that I saw as of last night that was 2-0, and everyone else is either 2-1 or 1-1 or they've lost. And so the Kings still have a shot to make it up.
Get those rings.
Yeah, they do still have a shot, but that's the only way that I think we should see Keegan Murray. I mean, we've seen too many players get hurt already, and I'm surprised we're seeing Keita. I mean, Keita had a calf injury. Unless that's cramps, I don't get it. Like, it must have just been cramps in his calf, and
Don't even play with that though.
yeah, because if not, like, why would you risk him like tweaking that thing and being out for 6 weeks leading up to training camp, and you just lose all that time to really build momentum towards camp? So yeah, I like what we're seeing there, and I would just be very cautious.
And to be honest with you, James, look, I'm gonna be locked in. I'm gonna be watching, and I want to see Keegan. I want to see him play all the time. There's a big part of me that's like, we've seen enough. Let's not forget that this is summer league, and I don't even care if they are still, eligible for a championship. Let the other guys win the championship. I don't know if I need to see Keegan Murray out there.
If he plays one more game, which he is going to play today, I think he'll be an all summer league selection, and maybe that's what they're trying for, just to get him some notoriety going and sort of see, we told you he's better than we thought, and all of you people thought.
Well, they thought he was the number 2 pick in the draft, James. I don't know what you're talking about. They say, yo, this is the guy. Apparently, it was behind Paolo Banchero, despite the fact that everybody had Jabari Smith at number 1 all the way up until the draft actually started.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone texted us earlier. Keegan Murray is so good, they're rewriting history already.
Yes, the revisionist history, that always happens. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, I'll tell you, like, Vlade's told me to my face, no questions asked, that if they had the number 1 pick, they would have drafted Marvin Bagley in the 2018 NBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were drafting Marvin no matter what. Like, that's how confident they were in his ability. They liked him better than Ayton. So we've always seen, like, the picture where I think it's Gabe Vincent signing a contract at Vlade's desk, and right there is a little scribble on,
the
white. Yeah. And did I ever tell you guys I was at media day, and I looked up, and Vlade was up in his office, and he looks down and he waves at me, and I wave back to him. And then he grabs a marker and he goes over to the giant whiteboard on there, and he starts writing trade ideas. And he looks down at me like pointing at it, and laughed and waved. He always he's such a good natured guy. Like, his sense of humor is amazing. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Great ideas.
I love Lottie. I hope we get to the point where we can forget all this. And he can just come back.
You already need to be there. Like, the fact that
I feel that way.
The fact that some folks on Twitter were in their feelings over, the Kings aren't masters of optics here. Like, what? Like, Vlade's sitting at a freaking summer league game. Like, what do you think is happening?
Right.
What do you think is transpiring with Vlade and Monty and Mike Brown and Vivek Ranadive and Curtis Jackson? Like, give me a break. just let them live. Let them live.
Yeah, at some point, I hope Vlade is able to be embraced as the great player he was in Sacramento, and people forget about this idea, which I guarantee wasn't even his, to become the GM, and certainly when he took the job, it was with the idea that they were going to bring in others, and then they really slow played that early on in his career. He had Ken Catanella that first year, and then they brought on Peja, but like, having an experienced person in the front office didn't happen until his second summer when they brought in Scott Perry. Like, it's one thing to give a guy a job that at that point wasn't qualified for the job. It's a whole other thing to give him that job and then skimp on all of the things around him and not really give him the tools to actually succeed in the job, and just make him a guy who makes the final decision. um, they botched that thing a couple of times over early on, and so like again, he's such a good guy. I hope he does get that moment where fans just kind of accept who he is and what he is, and embrace him for the lovable guy he is.
Is there a shorter tenured front office Kings member than Scott Perry?
No,
Like
no,
it
that
was
3 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say weeks. I was like, I know it was short. 3 months. That's amazing.
It's a bummer too because Scott is such a like an interesting guy in the league. He's someone that everyone knows and everyone respects. He's a little bit like Alvin Gentry, but like on the front office side. Although Alvin is now on the front office side, but a lot like that, where he just knows everyone and can have conversations. Just he's good with agents. He's good with other front office members. Everyone likes him, and when they brought him in, he was able to really like teach a master's course. And he even like he told us like, hey, I made mistakes when I was in Orlando, and we really sort of blocked out the media and tried to ignore the media, and I'm not going to do that this time around. So I ended up going out to lunch with him like in his first like 2 weeks. We went out to lunch and hung out and got to know each other. That was something he wanted to build relationships and make sure that he was taking care of everybody, local media, like of course national media as well. But that he got it. That's one thing, and they really did miss when they replaced him with Brandon Williams, who didn't get it, and so yeah, it's just really a contrast in styles and a very poor contrast.
Yeah. James, I mentioned it earlier in the show. We're on the brink of seeing quite possibly the greatest summer league season in Kings history, individually, with what Keegan Murray is doing. I think in Vegas, he's averaging 21 and a half and maybe 6 rebounds. All together, combined in the California Classic, he's like at 20.7 or something, maybe 7 boards. The previous high was Tyreek Evans, from everything that I could find. Tyreek Evans averaged like 19.3, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. Does this mean anything to you?
I mean, I think what it means is that he's a good player. Like that's what we've noticed. Like you're watching him play, and you shouldn't get so overhyped and just go crazy and expect him to average 21 point something his rookie season. But you should be excited because everything about him is just it's professional. It's like high level, and it's fun to watch. He's just a really really good basketball player with an opportunity to potentially be great. And like the talent wise, you can still see where some of the players above him have just higher end talent, but that doesn't mean they're going to be better players. Some of the most talented players in the league, either by hook or by crook, like ran themselves out of the league. I mean, Rashawn McCann's still a guy who like averaged 15 points a game and then couldn't find a job as like a 24-year-old because he just again, Shabazz Muhammad, we've talked about him here. He hasn't played since 2018, and he was a lottery pick, and he's still only 29 years old. Like there are guys that just don't figure it out, and that's I think what you see with Keegan. He's going to figure it out really quickly, and if he has bad shooting nights, it doesn't mean it's going to be a disaster. And his bad shooting nights aren't going to look like Buddy Hield shooting nights where it's a 1 for 16 and he shot you out of the game single-handedly. He starts doing other things when he's struggling with the shot. The one really horrible night that he had at the Cal Classic, they won. That's something because he pulled back, said, okay, I'm not hitting anything. So as opposed to going 1 for 13 from 3, I'll go 1 for 7 and just kind of bite the bullet and say, hey, I don't have it tonight, and try to do the other things to make my teammates better. And so, I just think that there's a high level of thought process that we're watching with this kid, and I think he's got a lot of potential. He's going to be a really good player.
You were talking about the transferable portion of his game a few minutes ago, James, and you referenced his usage rate. And I want to ask you to define that a little bit clearer. You talked about him being at this usage rate here that he's been in the California Classic and Summer League, and how you think that's a better fit for him. and what he was in college, how that's transferable, because I'm assuming, you tell me if I'm wrong, because he's going to be on the floor with guys like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and what he's doing. The thing that I love most about Summer League for Keegan Murray is what he's doing feels like he's doing it in the flow of the game. And whether it's Keon Ellis and Neemias Queta out there, or it's De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis out there, he can still stay in the flow of the game. And I don't think there are many times here in Summer League where he's really stepped outside of himself. I don't think there's any times at all where he's really forced things either. Like we talked about Paolo Banchero. Paolo has openly admitted, I want to prove everybody, why I was the number one pick. I want to show you why I was the number one pick. And you can see him force things every once in a while. He's looked phenomenal, but you could see him force things a little bit before he was shut down. With Keegan, I've never gotten that feeling, which makes me feel like when you change the personnel around him, not a ton is going to change with his game. He's still going to play within himself.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it's only going to get easier. I think that's one of the good things. You're right. Like when you increase the talent level around him, he's going to do the same things, but he's going to have an extra foot or two of space to do every single one of those things, because the attention that Sabonis and Fox draw are crazy, but so is what Kevin Huerter. You have to defend Kevin Huerter on the perimeter. You got to be all the way up on him. The same thing with Malik Monk. Malik Monk is a creator. There's all of these pieces around him that are so much better than the players that he's playing with on the Summer League roster. And so he's being able to, put up big numbers and play within himself and really like put on a show at Las Vegas.
Oh no, it's happened again.
Oh,
Don't say anything, because if he comes back in like 10 seconds, it's going to throw him off. Just wait. Oh, that out there internet has gotten us again. James is frozen.
Damn.
We've got to unthaw James Ham. These are issues that will not leave us when we go into the new studio. James will probably be with us in the building, like during the season, especially during when there's a Kings game. He can come through and hang out with us. But I always love leaving James on the screen, though, too, for those that are watching on Twitter and YouTube. I don't ever want to make it feel like James has left us. He's there. He's frozen. It's like James Ham's like Encino Man right now.
That's phenomenal knowledge by you right there. Encino Man.
Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser, like,
man, coming through the wafer.
Wow.
The charred, thawed out iceberg, man.
Wow. You did the whole bit. Brendan Fraser's like a power forward. Isn't he like 6'9" or 6'10"?
I don't know if he's that tall, but he's tall. I don't know. You would know better than I would, but
I would not.
He's tall.
Well, while we're waiting for James to reconnect and finish his deep thoughts on Brendan Fraser. All right, here we go. We'll bring James Ham back, and we'll. Oh, no way! Is this right? Oh, I was way off.
Damn.
I thought Brendan Fraser was like 6'8". Brendan Fraser's 6'2".
He's 6'8" with shoes on.
Why did I think Brendan Fraser was 6'8"? I mean, he's pretty tall, especially for an actor. Like, he's 6'2", but we James, you froze. Encino Man, Brendan Fraser reference. Brendan Fraser's tall. That's how we got here.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, that actually, for the first time, that wasn't the internet. My MacBook just decided it was going to reset. Like,
that's cool. Yeah,
that was a full-fledged, like, what in the world just happened? Right in the middle of, like, telling you how Keegan Murray all of his skill set is just completely translatable, and he's only going to get better when there are better players around him.
I can't wait for next year for Mike Brown to sit in at Summer League and go, free agents want to come to Sacramento because of Keegan Murray. Like, he is a game changer for this franchise. I can't wait for Mike Brown to be sitting between Mark and Doris next year. Yeah,
all while the Kings get 0 free agents.
Yeah, all while no one signs with the Sacramento. Not that that's happened at all recently. Not at all. Just I can't wait for that to happen with the Kings as well.
Well, I mean, I've said it that like Vlade Divac is the best free agent the Kings have ever signed, and like number 2 on the list is probably, Rashawn Holmes. Like maybe there's someone else out there.
And don't get it twisted, Rashawn Holmes, production wise, is up there, 2 or 3. But as far as like when you signed him, the cachet of the player that you were signing, Rashawn Holmes was a month after free agent started.
Hey, I think if Rashawn was signed this year, he wouldn't even have been signed yet. Like he was signed so late in free, or it felt like it was so late in free agency.
It wasn't as late as you think, but when he did actually sign, that became again one of those NBA things where you have to sign specific order. You have to do things in a specific order. So yeah, he actually did sign earlier. Like it wasn't one of the first things that happened. But yeah, he wasn't just a complete afterthought. I don't know. I mean, if the Kings could find another Rashawn Holmes right now, like in that value of player on the free agent market, that would be stunning, and it could change everything.
Well, Isaiah Thomas.
There you go.
I'm joking before people lose their minds. I do agree with what some people were saying in the chat, and I kind of feel like I might have said this when it happened. Might be Malik Monk. Might be the second best, like at the time, free agent signing.
I'm seriously trying to figure out who it is. Like I mean, because Vince doesn't count. Like I don't know who it is.
Maybe Zebo. Zebo was
still good.
Actually, it was probably George Hill. It was probably George Hill, like numbers wise, might be the best that they've ever brought in. And people brought up Sharif Abdul-Rahim. Sharif had a lot of very good seasons, but there was an issue with his knee. He went to Brooklyn. Well, actually, it wasn't even Brooklyn. It was New Jersey at the time. And they failed him on his physical after signing him. And then the Kings were able to scoop him up. And then he ended up retiring early because of the knee. Yeah.
Well, I did do this exercise, matter of fact. And by the way, Giants walk-off win over the Diamondbacks, thank God. I think Monk is in the consideration as far as all things considered. Because remember, we talked about the age of the player, the season he's coming off of, where he's at in his career. And it was Monk, Hill. Hill was like 29 years old. Darren Collison was about where Malik Monk is, maybe a little less. But you know who was kind of sneaky up in there was Aaron Aflalo.
Yeah, Aflalo.
Aaron Aflalo came off like a 16-point per game season. He was like 25 or something like that when he signed, or when he signed.
He's a little older than that.
Maybe about 28 or 29. Or something.
Yeah, I think he's 28. Yeah, he was a guy who loved to work out. I'm not sure that he loved the game of basketball as much as he loved to work out. Yeah. So he was a which way to the gym guy. Hey, which way is the gym? Like, yeah, we got you.
I think Rashawn Holmes signed 12 days into free agency in 2018.
Officially?
So I said, I think, James. I'm using Wikipedia as a source that says July 16th, 2019, Holmes signed a year contract worth $10 million. Free agency that season started July 4th.
And technically, we are 12 days into free agency. Who the Kings sign now?
Who's the third man?
Who the hell? What the hell is going on?
And whose side is he on? James Ham is on our side. You can check out James Ham on the Kings Beat. KingsBeat.com. Subscribe to the Kings Beat newsletter. He wrote a piece today on the birthday boy to me is K.